One afternoon, Della decided to surprise Emmanuel with his favorite fruit, a basket of ripe mangoes. She skipped happily to his house, her heart full of love. But when she arrived, she saw something that shattered her world. Emmanuel and Anita were sitting close together, laughing and holding hands. Della's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. She dropped the basket of mangoes and ran home, tears streaming down her face. In a small sunny village in Bamenda, nestled between rolling green hills and wide flowing rivers, lived a girl named Della. Della was known throughout the village for her kind heart and radiant smile. She had a best friend named Emmanuel, who was the same age as her. They played together every day, climbing trees, chasing butterflies, and sharing secrets under the old baobab tree. As they grew older, Della and Emmanuel's friendship blossomed into something more. They realized they loved each other and they promised to always be there for one another. Della's parents and the villagers thought they made a perfect pair, destined to be together forever. But one day, something terrible happened. Emmanuel started spending time with Della's older sister, Anita. Anita was beautiful and charming, with a smile that could light up a room. Della noticed Emmanuel's attention shifting, but she never imagined he would hurt her. She trusted Emmanuel completely. One afternoon, Della decided to surprise Emmanuel with his favorite fruit, a basket of ripe mangoes. She skipped happily to his house, her heart full of love. But when she arrived, she saw something that shattered her world. Emmanuel and Anita were sitting close together, laughing and holding hands. Della's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. She dropped the basket of mangoes and ran home, tears streaming down her face. From that moment on, Della believed that love did not exist. She vowed never to trust anyone with her heart again. She distanced herself from Emmanuel and Anita, and she decided that she would never marry a young man who could betray her. Instead, she turned to older men, wealthy and powerful, who could give her the life of luxury she desired. Della began to move from one sugar daddy to the next, always looking for more money, clothes, and luxury. She made up her mind that she would marry a rich old man and be his third wife, ensuring that her future and the future of her children were secured. She believed this was the only way to protect herself from the pain of betrayal. One day, while shopping in the village market, Della met a young man named Jason. Jason was kind and gentle, with a warm smile and eyes that sparkled with sincerity. He fell in love with Della at first sight and did everything he could to please her. He brought her flowers, helped her carry her groceries, and always made sure she had a smile on her face. Despite Jason's kindness and persistence, Della refused to open her heart to him. She remembered the pain Emmanuel had caused her and vowed never to let a young man hurt her again. Jason asked her to be his girlfriend on numerous occasions, but each time Della said no. One rainy afternoon, Della was walking through the village when she saw Anita standing in the middle of the road, drenched and crying. Anita begged Della to forgive her, tears mixing with the raindrops on her face. But Della's heart was hardened. She unknowingly kicked Anita, who fell into a puddle of muddy water. As Della walked away, Jason, who had witnessed the entire scene, approached Anita. He helped her up and asked her what had happened. Through her tears, Anita told Jason about her past with Emmanuel and how much she regretted hurting her sister. Jason listened carefully, determined to find a way to help Della heal and open her heart again. Jason knew it would not be easy, but he was determined to win Della over. He continued to show her kindness, hoping that one day she would see that not all young men were like Emmanuel. However, Della had already caught the eye of a wealthy old man named Mr. Kinte. Mr. Kinte was enchanted by Della's beauty and charm, and he wanted her to be his third wife. He showered her with gifts and promises of a luxurious life. Della was torn. On one hand, there was Jason, a kind and sincere young man who truly loved her. On the other hand, there was Mr. Kinte, who could provide her with the wealth and security she desired. Della had to make a choice, one that would shape her future forever. Della stood in her small, cozy hut, staring at the beautiful silk dress Mr. Kinte had given her. It shimmered in the dim light, a promise of a luxurious future. She thought about her life, the pain she had endured, and the vow she had made never to trust the young man again. Jason, despite his kindness and persistence, was too young and reminded her too much of Emmanuel. Yet, every time she looked into Jason's sincere eyes, she felt a flicker of hope, a small voice whispering that maybe not all young men were like Emmanuel. But the fear of being hurt again kept her from listening to that voice. Meanwhile, Mr. Kinte was relentless. He sent more gifts, golden bracelets, perfumes from far-off lands, and fine fabrics. He even promised to build her a big house with servants to tend to her every need. Della's friends and family were in awe of the gifts and encouraged her to accept Mr. Kinte's proposal. They saw it as a chance for Della to secure a prosperous future. One evening, as the sun set over the village, casting long shadows and bathing everything in a golden glow, Della went for a walk to clear her mind. She found herself at the old baobab tree where she and Emmanuel used to play. Memories flooded back and she sat down, feeling the rough bark against her back. Suddenly, she heard footsteps. She turned to see Jason approaching, carrying a small basket. He smiled warmly and sat down beside her. "I brought you some fresh mangoes," Jason said, handing her the basket. "I know they're your favorites." Della hesitated but took a mango. The sweet, familiar taste brought back memories of happier times, and she couldn't help but smile. "Thank you, Jason," she said softly. "You're always so kind to me." Jason looked at her, his eyes full of concern. "Della, I know you've been hurt before, but not all young men are like Emmanuel. I love you for who you are, and I would never do anything to hurt you." Della sighed, the weight of her past pressing heavily on her. "It's not that simple, Jason. I've seen how easily people can betray you. I need security, a guarantee that I'll never be hurt again." Jason nodded, understanding her fears. "I can't promise that life would always be easy, but I can promise that I will always be there for you. Sometimes taking a chance on love is the only way to find true happiness." As they sat under the baobab tree, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. For the first time in a long while, Della felt a sense of peace. She looked at Jason and saw the sincerity in his eyes. But the thought of Mr. Kinte's offer loomed large. She knew that choosing Jason meant facing the uncertainties of life, while choosing Mr. Kinte meant a life of comfort and security. The decision weighed heavily on her heart. Days turned into weeks, and Della continued to wrestle with her decisions. Jason never gave up, always showing up with small gestures and kindness. He helped her with chores, brought her flowers, and even fixed her room when it started leaking after a heavy rainstorm. One day, as Della was walking through the market, she heard someone call her name. She turned to see Anita, her older sister, standing by a stall selling colorful fabrics. Anita approached cautiously, her eyes filled with remorse. "Della, please, can we talk?" Anita pleaded. I've been wanting to make things right between us. Della's heart hardened at the sight of her sister, but she nodded reluctantly. They found a quiet spot by the river and sat down. I'm so sorry for what happened with Emmanuel. Anita began, her voice trembling. I was young and foolish, and I didn't think about how much it would hurt you. I've regretted it every day since. Della looked at her sister, seeing the pain and sincerity in her eyes. She wanted to hold on to her anger, but a part of her longed for the bond they once shared. I've been so angry for so long, Della said quietly. But holding on to that anger hasn't made me happy. It's just made me lonely. Anita reached out and took Della's hand. Please, let's try to rebuild that relationship. I miss you, Della. As Della looked at her sister, she felt a small crack in the walls she had built around her heart. She nodded, tears filling her eyes. I miss you too, Anita. From that day on, Della and Anita began to rebuild their relationship. They spent more time together, talking and laughing like they used to. Della felt a sense of healing she hadn't experienced in years. Meanwhile, Jason continued to show his unwavering support. He never pressured Della, but his constant presence was a reminder that not all young men were like Emmanuel. Slowly, Della began to open her heart to the possibility of loving Jason. One evening, as they sat by the river watching the sunset, Jason took Della's hand in his. Della, I know you're afraid, but love is worth the risk. I want to be there for you, through the good times and the bad. Will you give us a chance? Della looked into Jason's eyes, seeing the love and sincerity in them. She took a deep breath, feeling the last of her fear melt away. Yes, Jason, I'm willing to give us a chance. As they embraced, the future no longer seemed as daunting. Della realized that true happiness came from love and forgiveness, not from wealth and security. She knew there would still be challenges ahead, but with Jason by her side, she felt ready to face them. And so, in the small sunny village in Bamenda, Della took the first step towards a new chapter in her life, one filled with love, hope, and the promise of a brighter future.